3,
2,
1.
nailed it.
Bam.
whiskey.
All right, so we're gonna start this episode off
Yes.
with a little bit of a. We'll call it. It's like a.
No,
it's like a murder mystery.
We need to clarify boundaries anyway. So this is perfect. So, yeah, go ahead, Tyler. Just give me your version of the story so I can give
Here's
mine.
my version of the story.
Yeah.
Came here for the nervous system workshop a while back, and there was a wonderful gift from someone in attendance.
That is not the same. But
No. That is a very important fact.
no,
because
no.
this is a good timeline.
Hold on.
Okay.
Now I am not of the.
Right now, you gotta be
I
quiet.
am
He's got to tell
not,
his version.
Okay.
Under the illusion that that gift was for me, right?
Right.
People did not come to the nervous system workshop to talk to Tyler.
They gave it to me.
Yeah.
Now,
But
in my defense, in that time frame, when was the last time you ever drank whiskey, Coach? Like, was it for you, or was it for the one that keeps talking about loving whiskey so much in the
It was
StrongFit
given
marriage?
to me. Whatever. I made a StrongFit special out of it.
so what happens is it's just kind of a round. And after actually probably a week or so,
Are we going to
no-
go
hold
conversation
on.
slot versus easy?
no,
Did you
no.
call my whiskey a slot?
No.
It goes around. Is that what you say?
Nobody had
That is a
drank it.
faithful bottle. Thank you.
It's an easy bottle. 'cause
No,
very easy
it's
to
a
drink.
faithful bottle, first of all.
So nobody had actually opened
not
it
a
yet.
slut.
Nobody had opened it yet because I refused to be the guy that was going to open the bottle of whiskey.
'Cause it's
that I knew was
mine.
from Julian. But I also knew that once this gets opened,
It's kind of open.
it's going to last forever
no.
because Julian's never going to drink it.
Right.
I was.
I guarantee that if nobody touches this bottle by next year, it's maybe
Doesn't
here.
matter. Does not. It's
You're like
quality, not quantity.
You're like
first
my
of all.
brother that gets a box of chocolates for Christmas and he eats the last
that's a-
one Christmas morning
Okay, that's a whole
of
different-
next year.
That's a whole different story. Trust me, the chocolate will not last that long. So go ahead, finish. Go ahead.
So then we started the little habit. We have a little bit of whiskey with our coffee when
no,
we podcast.
I have a little bit of whiskey in my coffee.
What he did was he opened the bottle of whiskey, so now it's open. Then he had it in his coffee during the
Yeah.
podcast, which made me think, oh, cool, we're doing this.
Yes,
Right.
there's a difference between this and
Yeah, Julian and
It's
I
invited.
have different serving sizes too.
yes, no shit.
It's part of the works.
Anyway,
Time goes on.
exactly. The bottle is
The
gone.
bottle is gone. Now,
Exactly.
I came back here last week or a couple weeks ago for the seminar, and I believe within 5 minutes of being here, I was accused of two separate things. One, you drank all my fucking whiskey last night.
Okay, so let me explain what happened.
the
I
second one-
come here for my StrongFit special, and there's no whiskey left in the bottle.
Richard, you got anything to say about
Exactly.
I'm
All
gonna pull the Yaya Playa del Carmen trick. I barely didn't even almost nothing touched it.
Touched it.
that? So,
I never touched it. Barely.
Barely.
She actually said that.
So
by
when
the
he
way,
said
so-
you drank the rest of that bottle of whiskey, and the next word out of us were, and are those my fucking Lululemon shorts? So I've come in, I've barely been in the door, and I'm being accused
Exactly.
of stealing his Lulus.
That was kind of funny.
And
But,
I said,
alright.
I said, no.
I did decide to ride you a little bit on
Yeah,
that one.
I
but
said,
yeah.
I said I would never drink the last of your whiskey.
No, just most of
but
it.
I would certainly
Really
drink
most of it. There you go.
Yes.
So it turned out that Tyler was not the one who finished my whiskey.
Right.
Anyway,
okay. If
so
it's
let's
for
move
the
on.
team, I think it should be 50-50.
No.
And I think I got maybe
Let's
10.
move on to the most important part of the
90-10
story.
rule.
Right. Let's move on to the important part of the story where suddenly my fiancée Kyla sends us whiskey. By that I meant
See, us,
me.
us.
By that I meant she sent me whiskey.
Delivery of message.
Exactly. And when did the whiskey get here, Tyler?
Yesterday
Yesterday,
afternoon, while
right.
Julian was gone.
And so I did not get the chance to open the package because somebody else did.
But Julian gave us a little heads up. He said, hey,
Here's the
I
whiskey.
think there's some whiskey coming this afternoon.
For us.
I was
I
explaining
never
how
heard
nice
us, but I
Kyla
heard-
was.
I heard us.
I heard whiskey, not my whiskey. So I was like, hey, this
I
just
was-
is whiskey.
Right.
I was explaining how Kyla was, how nice she is, and then that she basically thought about us and sent whiskey. By that, I meant she sent me whiskey, but I was trying to be nice and included you guys in the conversation.
Right. But okay, so here's my defense
Uh-huh.
to that. If you were to say, hey, I have a package coming, I would not open it. But you have two people that love whiskey, and you
Yeah,
say,
there you go.
hey, guys,
Uh-huh.
Kyla is sending us more whiskey. Those were your words. Yes, they were. I, can
was
tell
being
by your
diplomatic.
face. And so for me, I got excited saying, ooh, is it the same whiskey? Could it be something new? I had to find out. You never said, wait for me to open the package.
Is it a bigger bottle?
No, it's the
No, I
same.
think
It's the same one.
It's the
Okay,
same,
yeah. It's a fucking good whiskey.
Anywho,
Anyway,
it is good whiskey.
So now we have all
Nika
whiskey.
Coffee Grain.
It is
If
good. I gotta
Nika,
say.
you want to reach out, contact us. I won't mind being sponsored by
They
Nika
actually have. I
at all.
think they have a few different types, and I've seen
that's
them on. They all just look like some shit I want to get into.
They're all delicious.
Now-
Nika makes some good
now
whiskeys.
I,
Yes,
however,
Japanese whiskey is fucking
So
good.
so yesterday we come into podcasts and there was Julian's like,
Jameson.
shit, we're all out of whiskey.
It's
and
imported in France.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No shit.
Everything comes either through France or through Switzerland, mostly through
Yeah.
Switzerland.
so yesterday we get ready to podcast and there's like, shit, we're all out of whiskey, and I was like, well, I may or may have a bottle of Jameson in the freezer.
Yeah, you bought the cheapest stuff. So you drink the good stuff, and then you buy that cheap stuff over there.
But I drink way more of the cheap stuff than I do of the good stuff.
Yeah, see, that's why.
That's called functioning alcoholism.
yeah.
I'm
That's
a
not
connoisseur. I
yeah,
only
exactly.
buy good things.
This
Like,
go- this
I
goes-
drink a little bit of the good stuff. You drink a lot of the shitty stuff. What does that say?
This goes back to being a connoisseur versus just
exactly.
being an
What-
enthusiast. Right?
Absolutely.
Enthusiast. Don't be an enthusiast with my whiskey. Is all I'm
exactly
saying.
it.
Yeah, you be less enthusiastic about my whiskey.
So when we get into what the connoisseur vibe is, that is a lot about doing something and doing something
Quality.
really, really, really well. Quality,
Quality.
quality.
Yeah.
So
And
that's kind of
quantity.
what we want to talk
Okay,
about
yeah,
today
yeah,
as far
yes,
as this.
yes.
That's why
Funny how that conversation is shifting.
great introduction, by the way,
There
to
you go.
Richard,
Yep.
who we haven't had on yet.
yes.
That's the first time you're on the podcast.
Hello, guys.
I don't even know if we need to give a whole bunch of background, but Richard
No, they
does the
know
seminars
it
and
is.
stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
he does
do-
a
do
thing
the
here and there.
things.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
few things.
I got this. I'm just basically the smile in the front.
He's the
does that
he's the pretty hair amongst the StrongFit team.
See that smile, and then pan around to all cameras.
I'm the good
Get the
one.
best
Hey,
shot.
So, but one of the things we want to get into today is about what it takes to really be good at something. And this is interesting for me because I am a kind of what you would call a jack of all trades, master of none. I can do a lot of things kind of really well, which means I'm actually not that good at any of them.
Yeah.
I'm just passable at a lot of things. Whereas you two pursue the opposite side of that thing, which is find a specific thing and get really, 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 really good at it.
Yes, yes. First of all,
Yeah.
yes, and it comes down to learning. I think.
Yeah.
I think I've learned to learn well. If
Yeah.
that makes sense. Well, I think I spent the last 20 years of my life trying to understand what learning is
Yeah.
and means truly, and I think I finally get the gist of it.
Yeah.
I'm not done by a long shot, but I get the idea.
And we're going to get into that. We'll go into some background. We'll get into, like, especially you, Richard, where kind of where you learned that in the beginning and how it got there. But what I want to know now is with all that stuff behind you, what are you working on now that still kind of gives you that outlet where you're learning and pursuing
And
mastery?
this is
Like, what is your
interesting,
day
'cause-
like now, and how does that fit
Yeah,
into this?
If you want me to describe, I'll call my wife.
Yeah.
If you want me to describe Julian's daily.
Wait, no, okay. Whoa. First of all, if there's a man in a relationship, it's me. Like, there is no fucking way I'm the woman in a relationship.
It's
First of
mutual.
all, we are spork. It's not a knife and a fork. It's
Yeah,
a
we're the
spork.
spork.
We
I
both
like it.
sporks. I like
There we
it.
go.
I can live with that.
Perfect. It's super interesting because I like to be all over the place. I'm kind of like a bouncing house of sorts with a certain direction, but always kind of bouncing around. But Julian, we've been traveling now 2.5 years. I think I spent more time with Julian than I did with my own wife
Yes, we did.
in that time. And it was not like more time like just working together, but it was we would travel together, share Airbnbs, go to the gym, go to the coffee shop, seminar, coaches week, like the whole thing. We spent a lot of time together. And the best part was people would be like, hey, I'm trying to contact Julian. I'm like, ooh, right now, yeah, he's at the coffee shop. Don't bother him. He's reading or playing chess, right? And nope, he's at the gym. Don't bother him. He's trying to play, you know. So basically, Julian's routine is wake up, have his coffee, try and get his thoughts in order, do whatever he's going to be doing. Probably then go to coffee shop, do some more reading, do some more working. Then either gym or pool, depending on how he's feeling that day. Now, especially now with the nutrition stuff, depends. Then he kind of reads a little bit more. Then he probably trains, takes on some calls. And then it's, hey, you want to do dinner tonight?
Yeah.
And that's basically kind of where it
Yeah.
goes.
That is my day.
What's interesting too is my, as far as being around Julian with the stuff he does now. I remember when I was here this summer for a week or two, a couple weeks.
I can even tell you he goes to pee at like 3:30, 4 a.m. in the morning every night.
because
That is true.
Yeah.
that's when he texts you
I don't stalk him
responses
or
to any of the
anything,
messages you sent him after bed. I
I drink
remember.
water too, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I have my glass of water. But,
That's when I usually hear him walking around.
yeah.
I remember being here in like the summer, and I remember we had kind of been out and about. We had a bunch of shit going on that day, and came back to the place. Julian sits down. He's got his iPad, and on the screen is chess. And I was like, oh, Julian's, probably playing a game of chess. I know he's really into that and learning all this stuff. Cool. And so I just gave him his space, and 90 minutes or so passes. I doze off, we get up, and as we're getting ready to go, I was like, how'd your chess game go? Did you win? And he was like, what do you, he's like, no, I was just watching chess. Yeah. And then in my head, I was like, that is super fucking boring, dude.
Who watches chess games, dude?
What the fuck?
Patterns. You know what I do to have fun? I count toothpicks.
Yes.
That's the joke you made yesterday. That's exactly what I do. I play pattern games. That's literally, it's patterns.
So
Mastery. No, you don't understand how good those guys are. It's mastery. That's all I watch.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a thing that to me is almost very foreign outside of. We'll transition to your guys' specific story. For me, the only time I probably had that angle is either in sports, like team sports. Mm-hmm. Those were things where there were skills with which I felt the need to drill and get good at. Not always, and my attention wasn't always on point. The other thing for me was via, like when I was younger, learning to play guitar. Okay. That was one of those things that as it came along, it was a thing that I actually probably haven't since then put the amount of focus into one singular thing that I did for about 4 or 5 years then.
But understand what focus is. Jimi Hendrix was known to go listen to music all the time. What surprised people is he would go to, compared to him, shitty bands, just beginners. But he would be looking for that one sound that would interest him.
Yeah.
So he wasn't listening, like, because people go and they think he's listening to the whole band playing. No, he's not. He's not listening to that band playing. He's waiting to have one sound that interests him.
Yeah, all it has to do is connect.
So he can redo it.
Yeah.
So Efren Reyes, the greatest pool player of all time, used to watch people because he might figure out a shot he hadn't seen before, and then he would store it somewhere. In the middle of the game, he would see, oh yeah, that's the one, and then he would play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it would just boggles people's mind. Where did you get that shot from? Like the guy saw it 10 years before. That's what.
Yeah, and when we talk about the process of learning, even having to start out fundamentally from a place of like memorization, I remember spending hours and hours, days and days, for months and months and months. I had put all my guitar shit underneath my parents' stairs in our basement, you know, and hours and hours and hours, just headphones in, listening to, I would just hear a song that I liked and just try to play it over and fucking over and over and over and over again. If I could take that level of focus that I had then and apply it to literally fucking anything, it would be great. And I don't know that I have actually probably ever got back to that level of like just intense desire to just learn. But I think as I get older now, but there also I probably stopped just beyond memorization. I got to where I could memorize, I could do the doing, and then I could get just into the place where I could create. And then, you know, a guy gets old, you got kids, and you just be like, oh, that's gone now.
Life, so that's what I did.
But that learning thing, that's a piece that I think translates into everything else.
So when I watch chess, there's always the game, and it's interesting, but that's not what I'm looking at. What I'm looking at is they play certain patterns. Like each player plays his own game. You can tell they have their own identity when they play, and they play certain patterns, and you try to see if they lose it mentally or stuff like that. I watch the human play, I don't watch chess. I watch humans play chess.
Yeah.
I can't watch AlphaZero. It's interesting because it's more like a human, but I never watch, for example, like sometimes they have game against AlphaZero, and AlphaZero I watch. Stockfish I never watch because it's boring as hell. I want to watch the human play because they make mistakes. They make human mistakes. It's emotion based. They try stuff, and Magnus Carlsen is the best at just making you miss. He offers you chances to fuck up, and he waits for you to do that. Yes, exactly. And so you watch him play, and you go, and you know it's a setup. Everyone else, and they still fall into it. So that's why actually I watch. Yeah. So I can get patterns like that because it's the same patterns you see on everything. Anyway, but your question was about what day to day.
Yes. So for me, that was how I got into learning and finding mastery into one thing. But day to day now, what is that like for you in the things that you're trying to learn? So
contrary to what my daughter said on the documentary Humans of StrongFit, I do not do nothing all day. Thank you, honey. Like, do you remember when she said that shit? I was like, did you just say that? She was like, no.
I think kids,
yeah.
I think kids don't understand either what work is either.
Yeah,
because they're
she think I do nothing all day.
So you don't even go to a factory and
basically, yeah, exactly. So my day is a lot of basically what Richard said. It's basically testing all day. So I spend a lot of time reading. So sometimes I'll read studies and stuff like that. But the thing is, I don't read studies the way people think of studies. It's like Jimi Hendrix when you listen to one song, one sound. I read studies, but I don't memorize them. I'm like, okay, I translate them into my head. What do they mean by that? And there's usually 2-3 points that are very interesting. And then after that, it's how you make a pill out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't remember the fancy names or anything. I read concepts, and I read a study, and I'm like, all right, that's what they're talking about. And then I'll read, if something interests me, I'll read 10, 20, 30, 60, 100, until I get is the idea that I think is a principle I'm starting to shape in my head correct.
Yeah.
And so I'll try to disprove it. And so I'll read probably 100 on the same subject. Then I get an idea, and then I start to formulate. Then after that, I'm like, okay, does it work? So then I start talking to people. I'm like, hey, do you have this? Do you have that? Then I start, if it's movement, I start watching movement. If it's nutrition, I start studying. And then I look at bodybuilders, what they do, does it work? And then I start to basically disprove or prove an idea.
Yeah.
And that requires watching Jay Cutler train chest and see the patterns when he's cutting weight or not cutting weight, what is he talking about? And you start to pick up a sound here and there that interests you. And you go, hey. And when you put all those together, you start to get a certain music that tells me, I'm onto something.
Well, and plus then at that point, while it is, the thing is everything that we do and learn is a combination of something that's already been out there before, right? For the most part, right?
It's Isaac Newton who said, I can see further because I stand on the shoulder of giants.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember it was an old comedy bit where the guy's like, I don't know how to make a fucking cell phone. Like, send you out in the woods with a hatchet. How long before you send me a fucking email?
Right.
You know, it's going to be a while. Like, you don't know any of that. You can do it now, but you don't know any of that. But so it's very interesting where with you starting to piece together everything from nutrition to science to research to just general learning, AI, all that stuff, bodybuilding, movement, you're able to still devise your own version of it.
But
of all of it, by taking what works for you, what connects with you.
But you know why? Because I can digest the information.
Yeah.
Most people are still stuck in memorization, so how could you do it? How could you memorize all of bodybuilding, all of nutrition? You can't. There's no fucking way. It's stockfish.
Especially when there is a significant, I'm not going to say the majority, but a significant percentage of all of those things where the information maybe isn't.
But people,
optimal.
I think people would read the study and they go, "This is what they're saying," and won't connect anything else to it because it's only this study. And so I think like that's one of his greatest strengths is that he's looking not just at this study, but then where is it in Eastern medicine? Where is it in Western medicine? Where is it in psychology? Where is it in movement? And so that everything starts to come through.
Yeah, like how does this apply to even just learning?
Yeah,
okay, so that's the difference between specialization and fragmentation.
Yeah.
I'm a specialist. I study humans. Right? If you study only evolutionary biology, you're fragmented knowledge. There's a difference between specialized knowledge and fragmented knowledge. Fragmented knowledge is information, right? Knowledge can be specialized, it can never be fragmented. And most people today just fragment the shit out of everything. I'm an anthropologist, I study dinosaurs, nothing else. I mean, I'm like, but then you can't draw any patterns.
Yeah.
You have to learn first, and that's the Jimi Hendrix where he can absorb music. So he'll shift 3 hours of concert, but there's that one thing he absorbed, and then 6 months later, it's in the middle of his song, and you'll never know. But to most people, he just listened to a shitty group for 3 hours. That's not what he was doing.
Yeah.
And so I don't read studies in that sense. I try to get the stuff that fit into a pattern that is already established, like a gigantic Rubik's Cube, and then I can just put it together. But so people from the outside, because they don't see that, they go like, oh yeah, can you list the studies? But I'm like, if I list one study, it's confirmation bias.
Yeah.
So there's 100 you need to read, and then you need to link them together in order to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's where really the difference is.
And the problem is you get into that battle too. What it is, I'll give you 100 studies that are here, on this subject.
You give me one.
Okay, but 70 of them prove me, but the 30 that don't.
But they do.
And
but
then it's
not,
just like, well, so do you win because of the percentage?
Yes.
Like it's
by the way, that's step one.
Yeah.
Is the studies, and that's where most people stop because it's memorization. It's easy, but now you're gonna have to take those studies. You're gonna have to go apply them, which means there's nutrition. That means that I'm gonna try to apply that idea to nutrition. That means like I have to put myself in flight, which means fuck myself up mentally and see what it takes to come back from forced socialization versus a flight because I did cardio, then I crash myself.
Yeah.
Right. So, by the way, are you willing to do that? Are you willing to crash yourself mentally, put yourself into a state of panic, what I did 2 days ago, and then fucking Nutella because I need a reward system to feel better? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to do in a state of freeze to see what it takes to come back? Are you willing to do all those things yourself in order to test what the study says? Because it's not enough to read the study. You're going to have to experiment it. So once you've done all that, are you willing to, now that you've done it on yourself, are you willing to take it and go, Rich, this is what you need to do? And then from there, it's like, hey, mentoring program, this is what you're doing. Yeah. And then you're going to, so now it's not just the sound that you heard. You're going to have to analyze the sound that they heard and try to see if it fits the sound that you heard. And then now you have even more stuff that you have to put together into one bowl that And that's what I do all day.
Yeah.
So but people don't understand. Like they think I do seminars and Coaches Week and stuff like that. By the way, Coaches Week, it's him anyway. But I do seminars and then I just wait in between. Most of my work is done from basically 7 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, where every second of every day, this is what I do.
Well, and I think that's the reason too that not only the principles have evolved and grown, it's not just being pushed further; it's becoming more all-encompassing.
Yeah.
But
it's more stuff.
But a great example was we were here yesterday afternoon, and I believe it was a young coach or a PT who was from France, physio, stopped by, and he said, he had done seminar on Coaches Week in like 2017.
Yeah.
It was like a little over
it was
like a year and a half ago. Yeah. And he said, but as he's seeing things with the podcast, the nervous system, he's like, there's just so much new information, and that's where that comes from. You could have very easily just been spitting out seminar version 1 over and over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, and by the way, they do ask for that because they're like, it's too much, you're going too fast. But people don't understand the seminar is my break.
Yeah.
The seminar is when I don't have to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally my vacation is my seminar.
Hence why I took over Coaches Week.
Because
it was literally, people were like, he's going too fast on the assessment. I was like, Coach, slow it down. He's like, I did slow it down.
I can't.
Yeah.
I was like, more.
Okay, you guys are asking me to go into a fucking coma.
Yeah.
Like literally, you go, so
that's like
I
guy
am
trying to teach you to
looking-
dance.
I, the lad.
I am slowing down.
Yeah, Yaya teaching me to dance was very much similar to that. Where it's like,
like even here, they were like, Marcus was like, Coach, like the way you did the assessment, I get the feeling Richard is dumbing it down for us. It's like, yes. So he's like, but you do it like kind of fast. I'm like, yes, because it's some shit. Anyway, this is my break. That's my vacation. Is the seminar. Is doing assessment and everything. Like my work is actually there, but people don't understand the number of hours, man. That's the thing. Is the quality of the work that I put up is very high because I know how to learn now. Associated with you don't understand the number of hours. I don't watch TV anymore. I don't like, literally at night, I watch chess, I watch quantum mechanics. Last night he was reading the stuff on the gut flora. By the way, the Dutch are fairly advanced in it. It's interesting. That's what I do. So he's like, you want to watch a movie? Sure. And I got my iPad and I'm reading about fucking...
Well, the movie's on.
Yeah, well, it's the gut, there's a name for it, I forgot already, but it's basically the Belgium. So Belgium, Holland, and another one are doing an entire thing upon thousands of people to define what the gut flora, how does it work? Mm-hmm. And you realize, the more you read, the more you realize you have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
And so that's going to take me forever, not forever, but it's a lot of shit to go through.
Were we talking about that the next episode?
Yeah. Right.
So you've got...
Back on track.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm just saying.
I mean, well, you better get a good handle on that because we're talking about this.
No, but it's fascinating, but that's basically what but because it's, in a way, it's not work, because I'm not forcing. I found
difference. And I think that's where it's important.
Passionate
is
work.
You'll know when it doesn't feel like work.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing you should be chasing.
And maybe you're chasing the wrong thing then.
Yeah.
Because if that scares you to not watch a movie at night and instead go read studies about the gut flora, then maybe you haven't found that passion in life that drives you forward. Maybe you should. We'll talk about it maybe later. Just remind me.
Yeah.
But someone asked me not so long ago what it takes to do a podcast like the Barbell Shrug.
Yeah.
And I told him it takes moving to Brazil when you're 30. It takes moving to the States when you're 24. It takes jumping. It takes being interesting. It takes having a life full of shit and stuff like that. And
most people think it just takes an afternoon and some microphones.
Yeah, exactly. But they're like, so how do you know what to say? I'm like, because first of all, you have to have something to say. You have to be interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I think they don't see what the work is. It's not just the studies. It's being a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, but also having done the 1,000 pounds on my back. It's also, all that stuff is hours upon weeks, upon months, upon years of work. 5 years under a yoke carry, once a week at least. Back-breaking weight every time you went up. It's all that stuff that people don't see what the work is. It was a year and a half where every single training session I finished with a 400 meters and back carry. Every time. And the first 6 months, it hurt every single step. Then I was like, I'm doing it wrong. Took me only 6 months to figure that out. It's me yesterday trying to find that fucking thing like the Coccygeus, whatever they call it. I found it.
Yeah.
Last night for an hour stretching. I'm so sore this morning, but I found it because I couldn't do it with weight. I'm like, all right. So I told him, like, fuck, I'm going to spend 2 hours, but I'm going to find it. So I was like, bye. And so I'm doing the exercise, no, but stretching, and then I'm like, okay, active, not stretching, but active, activation of it, tension going like there. And then I did 20 reps in a row like this until I start to turn white, going like, oh, where's the Nutella? Let me do it. Oh, I touched some stuff. That's emotional mapping for you right there. But all right. So are you willing to do that? And you find that most people are not. So I don't think they're lazy. I think they haven't committed emotionally, or they haven't found the right color that makes them go, I want that life. So if you watch Jiru or the Ramen Head documentary, and if you're scared by that guy's commitment to his craft or stuff like that, then you haven't found your color.
Yeah. No. Now, Richard, yours is very interesting because yours comes from a place totally outside of fitness.
Yeah,
in the beginning, and then you kind of apply that all into what you do now. Yeah,
I consider myself a workhorse in the sense that I need to be active in order to learn. I can't be, for me, reading, I don't grasp as much, but if I have a conversation, I will remember details and that I can pick up. Reading, my head starts going, I was like, no, I need to start doing something. Yeah. And so I'll skim through books to try and get the message out as much as possible.
You read the skinny.
Yeah,
behind. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Cliff Notes.
Yeah, the Cliff Notes. Yeah.
And so that's basically since I was little, I remember like I just needed to move and pick things up, and I didn't care where I started because I knew that I just needed to keep getting my ass handed to me, and that was playing with chess. It was in 4th grade. It was like I need to play chess until I've gotten better at it. And that was me with everything. So when I got into, I came from the culinary background, but I remember I was 13. My uncle opened up a restaurant, and I just loved being in the kitchen, and I got the opportunity to go to the Montage in Laguna Beach and go, kind of stage there and work there for free, and just getting my ass handed to me. Like my best friend, Tony, like he was my sous chef at the time, and he would just be like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, just, it's all trash, start again. And he would just like try to constantly get rid of me.
You bullied your way in, like you worked your way.
I smiled my way in.
Exactly, yeah.
I was a fat
you
little chubby
every
kid.
Day, yeah, he was there every day.
I would show up with the prep cooks and try and learn about the stocks. And for me, the culinary school part was almost like you need to do it to be there. But I was like, I've learned so much more.
But
just
you worked
being
every
here.
position in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, I would just watch and stare and pay attention. And I would finish, I'd go home, and I'd take out my knife, and I'd start practicing skills. And I'd start.
Yeah. So you would finish school and go to the Montage, right?
I would ditch school.
Cool, there you go. And go to the Montage. And
basically my high school, like when they do like the whole high school open school to show freshmen what high school is all about, I called my mom up because they started playing 50 Cent. And I called my mom up and I said, you have 2 options. I leave school every day and never show up, or I do homeschooling so I can be in the restaurant every day. And she's like, I'll come pick you up right now. And that was basically it. And then I forged my high school diploma, went to Mexico, did culinary school. But that whole time was just basically being at the Montage. I would go there every weekend.
How many hours a day?
I would be there. They would try to kick me out at like 10 p.m. And I was like, no, I'll stay till close.
It's called child labor, by the way.
But yeah, it's all good. But that's like Chef Boyce for me was such a big inspiration. He was the first chef that he was like, yeah, you want to be a chef? Sure, come in. And there's just such stupid things that stick around. Like one day I was cleaning fucking beans, and you're trying to take out all the vegetables and everything. And I have like a spoon, and I'm trying to like go here, and I have like a glove on. I'm trying to like pick the beans out. And he walks over with a spoon. He goes wham in the back of the head. He goes, think fucking smarter. He grabs the spoon. It's a slotted spoon. So he picks it up. All the juices come out. And I'm like, fuck, that's so genius. You know what I mean? Like, damn it. Like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. No, but tell the potato story, because people need to understand what it was to work there.
Yeah, it was basically first day, Tony, sous chef, he's like, here, you're going to do medium dice on the potatoes. And I watched, Tony, I think it was Tony Flay, or what was his name? Bobby Flay. Bobby Flay was on, that was all you could see really food-wise. And so he taught me how to cut a potato medium dice. And so I'm going thinking I'm doing a fucking good job. I'm taking my time. 2 hours later, I have like a cup like this full of fucking diced potatoes. And Tony walks over and he dumps them. And he looks and he sees 2 of them and he goes, they all need to look like that. And I'm like, fuck. Okay, yes, chef. And so I'm going again. I'm like trying to be fast because I'm like, dude, it's been like 3 hours and I've been cutting 2 potatoes. Yeah. Like this should not be happening. So from that moment on, it was like, how the fuck do I cut better? And so it was every day I wasn't there. I was in the kitchen at home. I'd go to fucking Albertsons and buy a sack of potatoes and I'd start cutting them. And it was going to go talk to the prep cooks as they made the fucking chicken stock. I was talking to the dishwashers in the back that are working 3 jobs and seeing what they had to do to keep everything fucking running. Because if you don't have a dishwasher, you're fucked. And it was
by the way,
just
those
that.
guys make you want to work harder at what you do because you don't want to be them.
Yeah.
So
For
you're
sure.
like, let me get good at cutting the fucking potato.
But yes, I mean, I was always put under situations. Like I was sawing there for like 6 months, and the I forgot her name. She came over. She's like, "You're on amuse bush tonight because they called in sick. So make an amuse bush." And I'm like, "Oh fuck, what the fuck?" Like, you realize
that?
I'm 14. Do you
Can you spell
do you
that?
know that? Yeah. And I was like, "What do I make? Do you have an
Okay,
idea?"
this is California. She saw a kind of big Mexican. You're good. Go in the
Yeah,
kitchen,
dude.
start
Bro,
cooking.
I was like, holy fuck, I don't even know what to make. And so she taught me how to make, it was, what did we make? It was like a watermelon with the salmon and something else, like a little cream on top. And I was like, how did you even think of these flavors? And I was like, dude, I need to know way more. And so that was basically trying to develop my palate all the way through.
You have to work on that too, by the way. Develop your palate.
Yep.
That's work
Yeah.
because it requires.
Because it's under salty, too salty, this,
Yeah.
that. And it's,
and it's not a Then there's a preciseness to that as well. That you have to work.
there's a preciseness because you're trying to get what the chef wants to get, not what you
Exactly.
want. So you need to
Yeah.
match.
There you go.
And you have,
There's a
and
you
so-
have to tamper your own judgment.
The way that I
Yeah.
always looked at it is, you work with these chefs to try and basically steal their creativity and their work ethics and what they're trying to accomplish. And you start to go, ooh, I could do this better. Ooh, I could do this better. And then you're
Knowledge
like,
is stolen.
I'm going to go this. And so
Not
basically
given.
that's what it was, is you just spend time with a chef. I was at that point, I mean, I was working under the table and I was like, I'll be here all day. You tell me when you want me here. Like I'm here. And even if it's just sitting in a corner watching and trying to pay attention, I didn't care.
Knowledge is stolen, not given.
I think that's extremely. I remember coming up when I was back when I was a technician. It's very similar to your story here, where having to steal the knowledge. When you come up young, you're basically you just carry heavy things in the heating and air conditioning. You carry metal in, and you pound shit together and you cut holes. That's all you fucking do. It's the worst. It's just the worst. But what happens
not
is
sound good.
So you're not telling people to go into that
No.
trade.
Yeah,
No,
no,
no.
it does not sound good.
it gets better, but you get further
right
on.
away.
You get further on into it, and there's a lot of you have to be able to make a lot of geometry. You have to lay out fittings and stuff 3-dimensionally,
Right.
and you got to do it all by hand.
Look how
Of
fancy
course,
you're getting.
yes, but now what happens nowadays? Of course, there's no need to have that skill at all because you can punch it on a computer and it'll draw it. So then
Right.
you're just cutting out. But back then you didn't. So what happened was the old timers that were around, they would not fucking show you anything.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal: to them, it's not that hard. So they know if you know it and they teach you it, they could probably teach it to you in a few months.
Right.
Then how much are they worth? Because this kid,
Can do it
there I'm making
probably
like
faster,
$8 an
yeah.
hour, and
Right.
if I can do the same thing as the guy making 30, there's no fucking reason for that
Well,
disparity.
it's always, I taught you everything you know. I didn't teach you everything I know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so what
Tell me
what
about
happened is you had to like keep an eye, and the old timers that I learned from, there was actually they had stories about how it used to be even worse back in the 70s and 80s when they were coming up.
It makes you work for it, though.
Because they said the old timers then used to literally turn their backs when they would get out the compasses and be measuring and laying
But
shit
okay,
out.
but that's the dude in ramen heads though. He doesn't give anything. It's like you steal it.
Yeah.
By the way, in jiu-jitsu, you have to steal knowledge because the teacher cannot explain to you what he did.
Gotcha.
Because even if he does, you're not understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's not what you think he did. He didn't. He did
Yeah.
something else. So he's basically watch, copy, fuck up, come back, watch again, go, oh, try, fuck up. You steal knowledge. Knowledge is stolen, not given.
And it starts so much with mimicry, emulation, because that's all you've got.
Experimentation.
And then you
Memorization,
can really start to adapt your own
experimentation.
Well, I mean, I
system.
used to remember, when I was coming up within my StrongFit gym and like just trying to get strong, I had a video of me fucking
gym.
CrossFit gym. What did I say? StrongFit gym.
I like
I
it,
wish.
but it
I
was
wish.
coffee. Exactly.
It was the future. I was
Yeah,
already foreseeing the
exactly.
future. I was trying to. I'd basically watch videos because I'd be failing. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And so then it's like, go watch YouTube videos and then try this stance. And then why are they doing that stance? And I tried so many fucking variations and failed so many times doing a squat at 315 before I broke to 355. And I was like, oh, I'm fucking hot shit. And then I was like, that's the number to beat. And so, but it was constantly like, as soon as I hit a plateau, it'd be like 6 weeks of plateau. And I'm like, I can't have this. So what is it that I need to change? And I would start changing my stance, start doing things differently. And like, that was the coolest thing was for me is you try to explain people how it feels to do a squat. And they're like, what? And for me, like, every time I taught classes, ask my people, I was like, guys, this is you're in the fucking gangster song. Like, we're about to go to war. You know what I mean? Like, fuck the police. But the police, that's that fucking bar right there. You got to go fuck the shit out of that shit. And it's like, let's go kick some ass. And like, when I would squat, people wouldn't be able to talk to me. Like, I was zoned in on, I'm going to go
You
fucking.
have to learn to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to go fucking kill the bar.
By the way, that's an excellent point. Everybody that squatted heavy can tell you the same story. Like, I had my setup when I walk into the cage. I had the same movement every time. That's Captain Kirk who was saying that, because so you have to have a very specific mindset to squat heavy.
Oh yeah.
Right. How long does it take to learn that mindset? And how do you learn it? By getting under heavy weights and getting crushed by it until you turn it. Right. So you want to squat heavy before anything else, before the Carlistarate hip opener, before all the shit. You're going to have to get the right mindset. But yeah, are you willing to go under heavy weight and get your soul crushed until you learn to fucking turn it on?
Yeah, because what happens is, and this is, to me, that's a very specific subject I've been working with for a while, with coming back from injury stuff, and it wasn't until the last few weeks that actually squatting has started to feel good. Like, squatting heavy isn't something now that I can kind of do.
Kind of feared, but
now I get in there now, and the term almost popped into my head even with my last squat session back, you know, 4 or 5 days ago. Was I remember going up to the bar, or getting ready to go up to the bar. I was ready, belted up, a little honey in my mouth, and just, I remember standing there staring at the bar, and the thought in my head was, I now feel like my job is to go up and I'm going to impose my will onto that bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas what it was like during the time when it wasn't good was when I go to get under the bar, it is, I hope,
my back
I hope that I feel strong. Under this weight.
You know when I learned,
and that's the wrong approach. I ain't hoping nothing.
Right.
I'm gonna go.
I
I'm
remember
gonna
when I
fucking jump
learned
that
to
bitch
squat.
to the roof,
You know that moment?
you know?
I remember exactly me when I learned. I'm at with Samal Duenda, my coach, right? I'm back in PV, and there's 440 on the bar, and this is the last place on earth. I'm supposed to do a single or a double back then with that weight, and then there's no place. I don't want to be here. I'm going under the bar, going. This is the last place on earth where I want to be. It's a black hole of, I don't want to be here. I don't want to lift this weight. I'm going to do it, but I don't want to be here. And I'm going like almost like a depressed feeling. Like I'm falling into deep depression because it's an abyss of, I don't want to be here. And that's when I realized, what the fuck are you doing then? Yeah. Then don't squat.
Well, at least because for sure.
But one or the other.
Because for sure that day, that thing ain't going to work for you.
Yeah,
anyway.
and so I was like, dude, either you fucking decide to go at the fucking bar and squat the weight, or don't squat. Yeah. But why are you doing this in between? What is this? I mean, I was like, what are you doing? I was like, you know what? From now on, when I squat, I'm going to basically impose my will on the bar. Yeah. And that's when I started squatting.
And I think that's where, on the subject of mastery, that becomes a big difference, in which learning is not just something that is put in front of you as a challenge that you have to do.
It's
you're like that is a target that I want that, and that's the big difference when you're chasing mastery versus whether you're just kind of sitting on your heels, chewing stuff
but
up. From
people
time to time.
always say you have to want it bad enough, and all. I'm like, yeah, those are words on Facebook that you see constantly.
But how often are you acting on it?
Yeah, you don't understand what it's like to want something. It's like, are you willing to think about a squat session for 2 days before you're ready to squat, right? That was the fucking harness for me. Like on Friday, I'm like this, because tomorrow I'm going to put 18 plates and fuck it. I mean, like, are you willing to be, and people say single-minded, and like, no, it's not tunnel vision, it's not single-minded, I just want to be good at it. Yeah. And that's what it takes. Yeah. You're not single-minded, you're just trying to be good at something. People have the wrong idea of, that's the whole stuff we talked with the Andy finding your hammies. He was like, yeah, I can feel them. It's like, no, that's not what I asked. I asked you to cramp just like Richard did, and it took 50 minutes. Yeah, but he says now that it's going to be one of the biggest moments in his life because he understood what it's like to want something. I'm like, you're going to do, by the way, the same exercise for 50 minutes. So how many sets is that, right? And until your hammies, but it took 50 minutes, but he found them. Yeah. And now he knows what learning is. Yeah. Because that's how you learn, by doing it and going, found them. All right, he's just learned something he will keep for his entire life. But what did it take to get him there? Like, I had to be on his ass for 15 minutes.
He almost walked out.
Yeah. I remember when, I think
and then he accepted.
In St. Louis, we were doing some hinging stuff. And of course, my hinge is never that great. And especially at the especially at the extremes of my range. Especially the extremes of my range of motion, you know. So Julian's like, so no, we're going to do snatch grip deficit
Yeah.
stiff leg deadlifts, and I was like, oh, this is gonna go fucking great.
But, yeah.
You know?
It did too.
And it was like everyone's kind of going through doing their thing, and I'm fucking it up over and over. But then
Yeah.
everyone's done, and Julian's like, keep going. Nope, try this. Try breathe this. But it was the same fucking
thing.
exercise
Yeah.
over
Until
and over.
yeah.
But what was funny is now in hindsight, with a lot of the new stuff we've talked about, my reaction to all of the whole thing was never going to get me to that point. Like
Right.
the way I was
Exactly.
responding, I was
Exactly.
like, well, yeah, but we're at the extreme. So why don't I start top down where I have the
Yes.
right tension and go?
So
"Well,
here
start-"
comes excuses.
Yep, and it's
Yeah.
not just excuses. It's like, how do I make this easier for myself
Right.
Yeah.
to find it and then expand
That's
from
what
there? But
people want.
sometimes
Yeah.
there is a
But
bit where
that's-
you do just have
you
to
see
fill in
that
that gap
so
on your
much
own.
now is fucking
Yeah.
people want to piggyback. So they want a system or a way to back out of what they truly want. So like we had a thing with the mentoring program, like who are you? What's your actual identity? I don't like the stories are great, but who are you? And more than half the people were like, well, I want to do this and I need this and I think I'm feeling like I
not
have.
what we
I'm
asked.
like, no. I'm like,
That's not what we
who
asked.
are you
Yeah.
as a person? And I had calls where people were like, I don't know what to like.
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
know what
I'm
to say,
this.
yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean you think? You are or you're not.
Yeah.
Do or do not.
And by the way, yes, there is no try. By the way, why are you asking me who you are?
Yeah.
To define who you are, that's insane.
And that's where we have loss in
Yep.
self-identity. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things that people have a hard time with this mastery thing, because people can go wherever they want. And if it fails, it's like, oh, well, I kind of wanted that, but I
Yeah.
also had these 4 other things.
I don't know that you can master anything if you don't know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
Because it's going to require you to
You
go
don't-
past yourself.
Well, and you don't even know what vessel you're putting that into at that point.
But
And I think,
like-
no, but it's going to require you to go past yourself. To achieve something, it's like, dude, it's not about how you feel right now. It's go master the fucking thing. Go make that or go experiment that. I don't care if you want or not. Like Andy didn't want to find his hammies by the end. I was like, I don't care. You're going to find your hammies. This isn't about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is, I don't care. By the way, you're not my assessment, as I told him. Is one of my coaches. Go find your hammies because now I'm pissed. So after 15 minutes, I went up. It's like, go find your hammies. I don't care. Take an hour, but you're going to find your fucking hammies. What do you want me to do at that stage? There's nothing I can do for you. I've done it. I found my hammies. You go find yours.
no.
But that's what mastery is. So you're going to have to also learn who you are. Because at that moment, you know when he found himself? When he found his hammies more specifically, when he was ready to quit. And he went, no. He was about to walk out and he said no. And that's when he found himself. Guess what? That's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
That is the moment where you have a choice between quitting or finding yourself. You find yourself. But you're not going to find yourself before that branch, where the road splits in two. Find yourself, quit. That's when you find yourself, at that branch, not before, not here. Going like, yeah, I know who I am. Fuck no, you don't.
Pretty easy to be decisive at that point.
No, you have to walk toward the bridge saying, I find myself or I jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's,
I
why
keep-
that's why we're all going bungee jumping, right?
Yeah. Did I say I was doing the chair thing? Wait,
There's a weight limit
See,
thing.
he
I'm
tries
sure.
every time. There is a weight limit. I'm going with you.
What on that subject too, though? No, not bungee jumping, but as far as doing that exhaustive amount of work for almost minutia.
Yeah.
You had a lot of that in just developing the system that we've been doing now, as far as things like with the torque stuff.
Yeah.
You want to talk about time you spent in Dubai?
Yeah, I want to explain, because let's put it in practical terms now.
Perfect.
All right, so I get Richard. So let me start.
Oh, we
this-
didn't even get into what got Richard.
That's why I'm gonna start, because he's gonna skip a few important parts. So I'm gonna start and then he can say what he did. So Richard comes about, basically we've been talking through social media, because he sees me with the cool exercises and he puts 5 more pounds, which is a lot easier to do
win.
once you know the weight.
Strategy.
Yeah, because I could have done 12, I just stop at 10. Anyway.
I won, is the moral of that story. On those.
Whatever. This is a longer story. And then we talk at the CrossFit Games and he's coming in. So we do the assessment. By the way, during the assessment, as usual, I ask for history of injuries. And he's going, nope, none, I'm good. No surgery, nothing. He's like that. I'm good. And really nothing ever happened in my life. For anybody who knows Richard, you know how much. Anyway, that's not true. Let me put it this way, right? We do the first session. And even before that, I saw him whoop on basically bunch of I was retarded kids. Bunch of 12-year-olds. Whatever.
Come on. There were talented CrossFitters. They just didn't have brand before and after
Okay,
the
you were
squat.
pistol whipping 8-year-olds at CrossFit
With
powerlifting
fitness.
competitions.
Basically, I was warming up.
His opener was 40 pounds past the next guy third attempt. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Just to prove a point. Be like,
I was
everything you're about
warming
to
up,
go do
so
right
when I
He
saw-
would wait. He would wait.
Oh,
Yeah, I would do. So basically, I'd see who was coming in second place, and I would warm up with that weight cold. I would put that weight cold, and I would just, and everybody's in the warm up looking at me. I was just like, just fucking loud yells, do
Yeah.
fucking haka style.
Anyway.
It was so good.
Anyway,
Anywho.
yes, that's so. There's Richard.
It's war.
So-
I told you, I'm gangster.
Exactly. So assessment and everything, we talk first as usual, and then basically he had to find his lats, right? I was like, your lats don't work. He's wide and everything, but how do you want me to tell him your lats don't work? You don't. So I was like, your lats don't work.
yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, they don't work. The left one doesn't work. Go find it. Because first of all, he was like, I knew him. So already I knew that was the only way he had to go get it. There's no fucking way I could give him a program. That's not how this works. I could tell like, he need to go get it. All right. And then also was you're going to have to prove that you want it. Because at that stage, I was already less interested in competitive athletes because I'm like, you all talk, but at the end, you just want to follow a program, and then they all like work out like they're crying all the time. So I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, that makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now, when I see some of the stuff, like how much abuse mentally they go through, like the women, because they had Coach Young that basically told them how to live their life the entire time. There's so much abuse on this. Anyway, so I'm like, all right, go find your lads.
Yeah, so I was like, fuck you. Fuck off.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm called
Mom.
a flying squirrel for many reasons.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that was the last hope. And it wasn't that I waited till I went to go see everybody. It was more of I was basically broke. I mean, I'll be truthful. Like, I was fucking living off broken and broke.
Yeah,
Both.
actually, you were broke too. Yeah.
Broken and broke. and you know, you were like a good 2-hour drive. And there was always traffic, which was also shitty.
Yeah.
And
Saint Clemente to Torrance.
yeah, it was a long drive, and so basically I was like, this was a waste of $200 because I can see clearly in the mirror that my lats are delicious.
You were to say bigger than yours, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, I know you were going to say
holding
it,
back
but
a
trust me.
little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
And
I don't
it
care. I have the
was,
shirt.
You know, yeah, and it was kind of a thing where I started to kind of pay attention to what he did during my training, and I started to link things together. And I was like, okay, so he had me do these kind of bodybuilding accessory. When I first started doing like my own rehab after my accident, I was doing a session of just bodybuilding to try and get connection everywhere again. And I stopped that once I wanted to become competitive in functional fitnessing and powerlifting. And I totally stopped doing accessory because I was like, dude, I've been doing this shit. What the fuck happened? And I got home and I was like, I'm going to show him that my lats fucking work. Like, how dare he say that something that I can't do? I hate when, don't take that literal, especially towards endurance, because I won't fucking buy into that. But
Yeah,
I
no
was
more.
like,
Exactly. No more.
how dare you do this to me? You know, like, you're challenging me, so I'm going to show you that I can just destroy it. And so that whole week, I was literally sending him videos and going, no, I feel my trap when I do this, but it's a lat row. How come I'm feeling my trap? And I'm feeling this.
Exactly.
And there's my rhomboids and this. And
Exactly.
it was the Yates rows and a one-arm landmine row where I was like,
doing this all the
Yeah.
time, and I'm like, that's my point.
And
you
I
can't
literally-
use your lats
it was
anymore anyway.
It was one arm, the one-arm landmine row, where I got the oblique and the like all this to just
By
connect.
the way, he came up with it, not me.
And I was like,
That was your exercise.
and it was like 15 pounds. I was like, ooh, I got to work on this now.
Yeah, this is the
So
problem.
now he's
Yeah,
pissed.
so I was like, all right, I'll kind of listen, but at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm still gonna go clean and do deadlifts and do all this
course.
stuff. But then the next time I showed up, I mean, we spent a good hour just doing deadlifts, pause by threes, and you're like,
And he's not hinging any of them.
yeah, and so
He's
we
just muscling his way through.
and
And I'm
then-
like, nope.
and so
nope,
we just kind of
nope,
started going at it
nope,
that way.
Nope.
And-
I was like, your traps can't stabilize. You can't hinge for shit. At that time, you could not hinge like Andy style. I was like, no, that's not what I said. That's all back. It's like my back is blowing up. Like, yeah, no shit.
True.
You want to
I
know
agree.
why? Yeah, exactly.
I agree with you on that
exactly. That's very true. You are using your lumbar erectors a lot. It's like, well, let's stop doing that. Like, he hinge this 6 inches,
And so
600 off the floor, 6 inches, 6 inches a hinge. Yep.
And so I started to go at it, and it was just that. Like, I started to really, for me as an athlete, I was like, oh, this is a fucking magical tool. Because I always look at fights, and I like to strategize things. That's why I enjoy chess, and I'm a bit more abrasive. I'm a sprinter, right? So I don't need to survive the whole mile. I just need to make sure that the bear gets you at 100 meters to 200 meters, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
So I
He's
don't
gonna
have to
a
run
while.
faster than the bear. I just have to run
Run
faster than you.
for long enough. Right? And so that was basically how I kind of went at it is, okay, so what is he trying to, like there was something there. And as I started to kind of perfect everything, like numbers started going back up, I started training less. And then I was like, okay, so then how am I, like, now there's a bigger thing than me just being competitive. So how is he doing this and why is he doing it? And how can I use it for my athletes?
But even before that, what he's not explaining is that to hinge, he took a barbell and started hinging, and he was a 60 seconds eccentric and a 60-second concentric.
And then watch it for 3 minutes.
And so he learned every single inch of the movement and go, nope, not there, not there. So he went back and then he went like this, an inch at a time. But that's what it takes. And he did that for weeks.
And I explain that at every seminar. I'm like, guys, if you don't feel it, go home, take your camera, set it up. You have 90 seconds on 1 rep. And this is their 90 seconds. Ready?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
I feel my back again.
Yeah.
No shit. And then you take that 90 seconds for moving 3 inches and you go look at the video and you start to pay attention. Is this doing this? You know, like, is your hip moving? Is your shoulder moving? Are you shortening your oblique? Are you going to mid back? And that's what I would do all week. Like, it would be at least.
Why? Because he wanted to learn how to hinge.
Yeah.
Whereas most people, they go like, no, but look, I can go all the way down, all the way up. I'm like, you're just asking me for confirmation,
That's it.
for acceptance, right? You want to look good for me. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, you have no idea how much I don't care, right? Dude, I live in a world that is where you don't exist anyway. I'm still wondering if I'm in a room somewhere banging my head against the wall saying, I'm autistic, I'm autistic, I'm autistic. Yeah, I'm still not entirely sure that's not happening at this moment right now. Know what I mean? Like, so that's why I count toothpicks, mostly, because I just want to make sure it's real. I'm still wondering if I'm in the Matrix or not. Anyway, so I don't care whether you look good or not. That's really not my point in life. Like, I got to tell you right now. And I'm like, dude, you do what you want. Like, I'm not here to say you suck. If you don't want it, I'm cool. But it's like when I'm under that 440 bar, I had to choose, dude, either you're going to squat or you don't. But if you don't, tell your coach that he do not waste his time here and stop squatting. By the way, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong. No one says you have to squat heavy. But if you're going to squat heavy, then just go at it. Right?
Play the
so
game.
the key is, like, I'm telling you to hinge and you kept telling me, no, but I'm doing it. I'm like, no, you're not. My point is you're not, right? He's like, but look, I'm like, yes, you just use your back. Look at the video and go, oh yeah, okay. And then you do it, but exactly the same way. I'm not challenging you as a person. I'm just saying, like, this is not a hinge. But there's a moment where I'm like, you do whatever the fuck you want after that.
Yeah.
Just let me go back to my padded room and I'm fine over there. I mean, like, but so instead of doing, so I'm trying to instead explain to people, look, I'm saying this out of love for you, where I'm trying to make you understand why your back hurts, but I'm not challenging you as a person. If you don't want to fix it, that's fine. You came to me asking for certain things. I'm telling you need to learn a movement. To learn a movement, you need to slow it down. You need to feel it. You need to do that. It is not a challenge where, well, look, I can do it. I'm like, then it's not about movement anymore. It's about between you and me, and you think I'm challenging you, and I'm not. That was not my point. I was like, dude, your lat doesn't work. Go find it. After that, it's all good. Like, you do you. I mean, because I'm going to do me.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But you go do you. But this is where we lack sometimes. I'm like, guys, I don't need to know the excuses. I really don't. Like, you do whatever the fuck you want. But if you're going to go into a race of excuses, all right.
Yeah.
Like, how you have daddy issues, right? Oh yeah, but I have kids. Yeah, me too. Single dad.
Yeah.
Used to be.
I don't feel like squatting today. The music sucked at the gym.
Yeah,
today.
and then I'm like,
Bro,
it's so good.
music sucks,
It wasn't my bar. Like,
Yeah, it was. No, but like,
There's gyms now where you can buy your own personal bar and keep
Yes,
it at the gym.
I love
Is
it.
that
I
serious?
actually know quite a few gyms.
That cracks me up. Come on.
I think it's a pretty good idea.
That just creates
They
more
even make
compulsiveness.
barbell locks.
That's just so stupid. Yeah, they have barbell locks. That's so stupid.
how the fuck does that work?
It's great. They sit upright
Oh, right.
in there, and then
Oh
there's
my
just
God,
a little
is that-
clip with
it's
a
so
padlock.
fucking gym.
How compulsive do you have to be?
I
Okay,
know, it's a
let's
fucking
say that
gym.
you like to have your bar because you're a germaphobe. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Maybe, I guess. But like having your own bar to
Don't
practice.
train in a gym. If you're a germaphobe,
Yeah.
don't
that's
go
true.
into a CrossFit or
But
powerlifting gym.
If you
anyway.
go to any competition, it's like, guys, I brought my own bar. We're good. Don't worry. Don't bring out that one. I got my own bar.
Yeah.
Like, come on,
I don't
guys.
like when he
Give me a
touches
fucking
my-
break.
I
think that's
anyway.
excessive.
I
Sorry.
do, I do
Outside-
prefer,
that was a side
however,
rant.
deadlifting on a nice whippy
Clean.
deadlift bar.
Oh yeah, that's different. That's
I
not for some
really
reason.
like squatting with
That's
a
'cause you can
squat
lift a whole
bar
lot
because
more.
it's longer,
Yeah,
so it doesn't
whatever,
hurt my
yeah.
arms or the
Yeah,
bull
yeah,
bar.
yeah.
Mobility,
There you
bro.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was-
but that level of specificity, right? The amount of just being thorough to the furthest end
Yeah.
of everything. That's what got you into having the understanding for things like torque and applying, because
Yeah.
you take that level of focus and then you start to apply it to
Everything.
more general things.
Everything.
Yeah.
And you
That's the
boil everything down to
that's
what
why.
it
So
is.
you have to learn one time what it takes to learn truly, and then you apply it to everything
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
I mean, I think if it's not 24 hours a day, I think at least 18 hours of the day we're on the same fucking. Like I've been on the emotional mapping stuff now for a year and a half, and it's been nonstop. And it's just because I was able to find my muscles, and I started realizing after we got into the wheel. Sorry, I'm jumping forward a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, there's something here.
Yeah.
And so I'm here with you guys, but I'm thinking and I'm looking at that person and how they're reacting, and I'm looking at that person how they're walking, and now I start to just talk to people, and I can get the, like I do with my cliff notes on books. I start to get like the fundamental of what the story you're trying to tell me, and I go, that's interesting. Do you have pain on that right shoulder and the left hip? And these are people that don't even exercise. Like, how the fuck did you know that? Right? And so it's that constantly running through scenarios and then applying
if you
them
were
and practicing
to
them. And
explain what knowledge is, it's the number of seconds that you spend on this added together that would never amount to a highlight reel of anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's all
Not
the
even any-
non-shiny
yeah.
seconds put together that you would never go like, yeah.
And none of it's like Rocky training montage
No.
stuff.
And there's no music in the back, and,
Yeah.
and again, it's not boring seconds, but it's all those seconds that from the outside do not look like anything, that put together, and when they put together, they're still not a highlight reel.
For sure. And I
And
think
that's what,
And I think it's important to remember too that these also, like that pursuit, also comes at a cost. Like
everything
that
else.
does have to come in front of some things sometimes. Maybe not all the time, but those types of things do have to. They are hard when you're really up to your eyeballs in it on relationships, friendships, all
Yeah,
those things,
but-
because you do have to have such a one-track mind.
no, yes and no. I'm all over the place, and he knows it. Like
Yeah.
all over the place. I mean, I still have that direction, but I'm like, ooh, cryptocurrency. Let's go find out. Ooh, whiskeys. Ooh, red wine. And none of it ever mattered because my main focus is still always movement, and it's always training, and it's
that's how you do it.
yeah.
Me, I do one thing, and then so it's a lot,
Yeah,
probably a
but
lot harder
okay,
to live with me
You're
than it is to
talking
live
on
with
your
you.
extreme. I'm talking on my
Yeah,
extreme.
exactly.
And
It's
we
probably a
gotta
lot
figure out how
easier to live with
we
you
need
than
to
it is to
relate
live with
this
me,
to this
but-
80%, right?
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
I'm not 80%.
But-
I'm 100%.
No, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Like,
exactly,
we
yeah.
need to relate this to the 80%
Yeah, exactly.
of
Yeah.
that bell curve.
No, but he was
But-
saying it's hard on relationship. I'm sure I'm not easy to live with.
Well, what I mean is if let's just say the average person wants to fucking learn to play the piano at this level, right? That's the skill that they really are trying to focus
Yeah.
on. All right, well, you know what? That's going to take up some fucking evenings after work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, instead of watching TV.
Like this isn't a
Yeah.
commitment of just fucking thinking real hard
No,
about
but
this. This
exactly.
takes
It's not
time,
about thinking,
and it
it's
takes
about
time
doing. It
away.
takes doing, yeah.
And the important thing is it takes time away from whatever you're doing with that time right now, which means something has to go or something has to fall below those priorities. Like you do have to make time, and that may just mean I spend 2 hours less dicking around on Instagram.
No, but there's less of, basically, you know what it means? It means you're going to have to take away parts of you
But
Yeah.
yeah,
that are not focused, that are, you have to cut and get all the stuff that is too much out of yourself.
I think anything, whether it's strength or learning or all of that stuff, the further you are down that pursuit, it's not about really acquiring information. It's about becoming the person that is further down that pursuit.
I think the biggest thing is like you said, spending 2 hours less on Instagram to find something. That means that that's not your thing in the first place.
Yeah.
Like if you were to say, hey, we're going to go train or we're going to go raw. I mean, I have a whole lot of things I would rather do than Instagram.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like for me, I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah,
Depends
let's
who
go.
you're looking at, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So that's where we can actually start to see, like,
anymore.
if it's something that you really want to master, like that's something that you're not trying to make different compromises for.
No, it should never feel like a compromise.
And it's something that you're dedicated to. And if it's something that other people don't agree with, then that's on them. That's not on you.
But see, that's the thing. It, to me, means that there's certain parts about you that are not, maybe shouldn't be there, that are already dead or whatever, but that you need to cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of you need to cut because it shouldn't be there in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
how
dead
often
weight.
do people have conversations with themselves? Not like
It's
in
dead
the
weight.
whole
Yeah.
craziness, but
Yeah,
like
no, but
calling yourself out in your own bullshit.
Yeah, I do that in training all the time where I'm like, all right, because God knows I fucked up this year in 2018 within the mentoring program, not calling people out, letting certain mistakes take place. So I was like, all right, I was downstairs and for an hour I told him, I just talked to myself and then I came back, I was like, Rich, let's go around let's talk. And for example, I told him, the first thing I told him is, you know why we're not on the Joe Rogan podcast? Because we're not ready. And by that I mean, I'm not ready. Like if Joe Rogan were to talk to me today, he would have, that was a few weeks ago, he was like, oh yeah, do you still train like you were in Torrance? Do you still coach like you were? Do you still do assessment? And I can't say yes to any of it. So my training is back up and everything, but that's why we're starting the training twice a month again, because there's certain things where I got soft on certain stuff. And when you get soft, I'm going to go into Schrodinger on the way, this entropy starts floating around you, and a lot of this is cutting it off. There's branches that grow out of you that shouldn't be there. There's fungus, there's diseases that grow out of you shouldn't be there, and a lot of this is cutting them off. Call yourself out, cut out the stuff that shouldn't be there, and it has to be done constantly.
Yeah. And you two have kind of two major developments in that over the course of the last couple of years.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about
the Dubai?
torque
Okay,
stuff,
so well, because they explain exactly the work that goes into this, right? So I talk about thinking about it, but sometimes there's also the very practical application. And before I give it to Rich or the mentoring program, there's my own. And so what did I do? I was in Dubai, and that's when the idea of internal torque, external torque came about. I was in Dubai for about 3 weeks, and then there's a coffee place called Cafe Rider that is right next to a gym. So I was like, all right, there's a concept I'm thinking about where there seems to be a relationship between, like if you look at the sprint, the muscle that they use versus a box jump, I was like, that's interesting. It seems to be always the same muscles. I was like, all right, let me see if I can fix it. So I took my iPad and I put an anatomical chart on it, right? And I was like, I'm going to put the internal torque muscle in yellow, and I'm going to put the external torque muscles in red. And then I went and I was like, all right, so I start to draw, and then I knew the one, so inside head, that's easy, that's internal torque. All right, so outside head is external torque. I'm like, all right, should I do light or heavy? I was like, well, I don't know. So after my espresso, I go to the gym and I did external torque heavy, internal torque heavy, then internal torque, so break, go get more coffee, come back, now do internal torque light, external torque light. Which one was correct? All right, then mix it up the next day because you have to make sure it's not because you're tired. So that's one day, right? And I'm like, all right, so this felt like that for external torque for the hammy, this felt like that for internal torque. All right, then what about the calf? Well, fuck it, one more espresso, let's go to the gym. We're gonna go external torque heavy, internal torque heavy, then external torque light, internal torque light. What do you feel like? How did you recover? Are you sore the next day? And I went like that and went every muscle. Lumbar erectors, mid trap, high trap, side delts, rear delts, front delts, pecs, up and down, abs, all parts of the lats, bicep, long head, short head, triceps, and every single exercise. And then after that, I had to cut exercises to see. So I've done all that going down, and then that took me a week and a half, 2 weeks. And then the week after that was, what about tricep extension? Is it internal torque or external torque? Fuck. Well, fuck it. Espresso, back at there, and then I'm doing and I'm like, oh yeah. So it seems like you can do any exercise in internal torque or external torque, but does that apply to that muscle? Fuck it. Espresso, back at the gym. I did that for 3 weeks straight. So that was 4 or 5 hours every day for 3 weeks straight. Drawing, testing. Before telling Richard.
You take it to Richard.
Yeah. And then
Before
I was
Richard
like,
goes through all the work.
Because I mean, it's like, dude, you got no idea. You remember? I was like, I haven't slept, by the way, in 3 weeks. I got something. It's like, you got to try this. And then I sent the stuff. He was like, oh, shit.
So he sent it to me, but it doesn't say anything. I'm looking. I'm like, there's a pattern there. And then he showed up in Australia. And it was that morning. He got in the morning. I got in at night. And I'm like, he's like, look at this. What do you see? And I'm looking at it. I'm like, there's a pattern there with a primal function. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. I was like, that's kind of cool.
So next day we go to the global gym. I'm like, try tricep extension. It was
tricep extensions, pull downs. We did squats,
back extension. Yeah. I was like, try internal torque as a tension, and then we started to go at it. And that took then. Mind blown because it was the same thing on him as on me. It was like, I feel it, like, yeah, me too. Mind blown, and that was like another week like that.
Yeah.
Every day for 2 hours at the gym.
And when you go through that amount of like exhaustive work
No,
on a
it
singular
wasn't.
subject,
I was
no,
so high.
What I mean though is
Yeah.
you, from the outside, that
Oh, yeah,
is an
exhaustive.
amount
Yeah,
of
yeah,
exhaustive
yeah.
work, right? And then and you did that with the purpose of understanding it, not with the purpose of developing a new thing, just of
it was just
understanding.
Oh, there's been a lot of stuff that
Right.
we like stopped talking about because like, oh, that's cool, but then it's like there, but not
It's
there.
known,
Yeah.
and we just move on, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, we know. Like we don't talk about the wheel anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was very interesting in that then you get rolling it out with seminars, you start speaking about some of those things publicly. How maddening is it then when somebody who like won't even try it,
Yeah.
any of this stuff, sees it and then is like, I don't know. It's like,
That's me.
because
that's
you
cool.
have a lot of time
No, or even
and
like
energy
yeah,
invested
that's
into
cool.
figuring
Yeah,
it out.
yeah, but that guy has said that already. I'm like, no, he hasn't. I can tell you because otherwise I would have spent like 2 weeks on it.
Yeah. Otherwise, I could have just gone and talked to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's simple stuff. I'm like,
Yeah, sure it is.
it's because you haven't tried. That's why. So that's the freestyle model of prediction versus expression. Everybody's stuck in prediction. So everybody talks a lot.
Yeah.
They go like, yeah, I know this, yeah, I know that. I'm like, but you haven't experimented anything. You squat 300 pounds, you motherfucker. So don't tell me you know the mindset. No, but it's true. Like if you squat 300 pounds, you don't know what the mindset is to go under 500, do a pause squat, count to 3 and go back up. Mentally, there's something to you.
Yeah.
Those fucking pause squats, under that
Those
much
things are
weight, on
miserable.
the way up, like
Yeah.
you go like, I'm gonna die. Like something is gonna snap. Like if I'm wrong, and it's a 1,000-pound yoke.
Yeah.
Thank God it went well, but fuck me, like I felt my femurs bending. You know what it takes on a mindset level to feeling your femur bend and not for the fraction of a second say, fuck no, I'm moving forward. So if you can't do that, most people do not have the mindset to feel their femur bending saying, I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
Which is fine because it can be a bad idea, by the way. It can. Thank God it did not turn out to be. But
I can show you some videos.
no, stop showing me those. Thank God I didn't watch them before I did it, by the way. But just don't tell me, yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Plus
Stop talking.
Yeah.
Start
Plus
doing.
When you had done the work to become the person willing to take a step with 1,000 pounds and
Yeah.
another step with 1,000 pounds. And like I said earlier, if you can squat 600 pounds, this is one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. This is from a guy who squats over 1,000 pounds.
Yep.
I said, what does it take to squat 1,000 pounds? Now, obviously, the first thing he said was drugs help. But
Yes.
but the next thing that is where it was really important. He said you cannot go from a 600-pound squat to a 1,000-pound squat by getting 400 pounds stronger in your squat. That's not how this works.
Right. Yeah.
The process that takes you from 600-pound squatter to a 1,000-pound squatter will make you the type of person that can squat a 1,000-pound
yeah.
squatter.
Yeah.
You will never take the human you are with a 600-pound squat and add some strength and squat 1,000 pounds because
Right.
you're not that fucking guy.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's the difference. Is that process is where you become capable of doing that
1,000
end
pounds.
result.
Yeah. And so that's why it kills me. And when people dismiss it by saying, yeah, I know. Like that dude at the seminar in Utrecht who said the only reason you don't deadlift 800 pounds is because you don't want it enough. And he was dead serious because he's someone going to school who has no practical application. And I'm not mad at people dismissing what I did. That's not what I'm mad about. I'm mad at people because I want to tell them, you will never go anywhere by
If
just
that's-
talking.
yeah.
When you come to me and ask me for help, I always want to give it. Always. But it takes time and energy out of my life to do that. Socialization is not my forte. So, and I'm willing to spend the time and energy and to use that energy toward you and everything. But there's a price for that. And the price that you need to pay is you doing shit. Otherwise, you'll never learn. And it hurts me. It breaks my heart to see people that talking, and the second they need to start doing, going like, yeah, but this happened. Or that hurts me inside because I have the utmost faith in people to these days. That has not changed. I love mankind. I will never change. When I see people capable of doing stuff, and then there's that moment where they need to find themselves and turn right, and they turn left, it hurts. And that's what I see mostly. I see people getting to that moment where here comes the work. And that's your greatest moment. That is your greatest moment when you're about to find yourself because you're ready to quit. And there's that moment where you have to go, no. And that's when you find yourself, right? And I see most people going, and making a left and not wanting to go there. And I'm like, I've invested myself in you. I gave you the pep talk. I did all that where I put my energy into you for you to go right and you go left at the last moment. And that's where I get furious.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, that is not who you are. Do not quit. But
Yeah.
understand that when people talk like this, what they're doing is quitting. There's no other way around that. You're just not putting the work. That's called quitting.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not passionate enough, but then don't waste my time in the first place. Stop talking. Start doing.
And so, Richard, you were kind of given all this information
Yes.
and told to
Do
play with
something.
it.
Yep.
Do
Yeah.
something with it. And but you've now kind of taken that and turned it into, I won't say turned it into, but you've used the things that you learned from that, and you've been able to kind of learn a few more things about yourself, the human body, all those other things. Like, where have you been taking at that ever since you've been?
Yeah, for
working
me,
on
it's I always kind of reflect back on what I've done and how I work with people, and then how I come back, and so the way that I started to apply it was the second time in Australia now, and he comes home, he's like, I got something. I'm like, okay. He's like, I need a marker. So we got markers, and we literally have a kitchen window, and he just drew a circle with a fucking crosshair across it. He's like, that's it. And I'm like, 4 quarters, okay, cool. And then he goes, no, there's a flow, the fight, the flight. It's 4 different states.
Have you seen Good Will Hunting?
Yes.
You know that part when you're like, wait, I simplified it, and he puts it. Okay, that's what I did.
That's basically it. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, it looks cool. And at that time, we started talking about William Reich and kind of getting the muscle armoring going.
Right.
And we started talking about, the difference between Dorian Yates and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the CrossFit athletes, like the games athletes, how the abs don't move. And I started looking at all that stuff. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So we started to look at the chakras at that point. We looked at Buddhism and how they looked at the, at the body.
A lot of Eastern stuff. Yeah.
What's up? Yeah. And so I was like, fuck, let's go run with this thing. And that's basically what we did. I started going to the gym, and I was like, okay, so I want to look like Arnie, so I'm going to fucking approach this entire workout as to, I don't give a shit about my PR or how much weight. I just want to feel every muscle.
Yep.
And as I started going at it, I was like, ooh. And then I would get to a point where I was like, I want to kill it. And I started to realize, so and I started to realize how I could transfer from this kind of flow, lovey state to like, I need to go fight and kill something. And then I started to go into the flight state where you're like just going, you're like, nope, you better stop. I should really be stopping. I'm not stopping. I'm going to keep going. Oh, fuck. And then boom, you just crash and you kind of go to the freeze state.
And so that was the point. I was like, look, you go from flow to fight to flight to freeze. Try.
Yeah.
And then how do you get out of it? And then suddenly emotions comes up, and he's crying. Me, I'm starting to, when I got beat up when I was
sounds like the
where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I started going at it, and I was like, this is emotional stuff.
Yeah.
And so in like my first assessment that I ever did with that, we were doing the seminar, and I was like, guys, we're going to do the oblique open. I was super excited. So I was like, you may get emotional. And, people are like, whoa.
Roof.
Yeah, some people like started losing it. And I was like, oh, there's fucking something here. And so that's literally the whole time was spent doing that. I was like, I need to find who I am with all this shit first and keep it going.
And that one is because that one is a flashlight pointed at a black hole.
Yeah.
So it's not going anywhere fast.
Yeah.
So we had to do every single work in the back, at least on the torque chain stuff like that. I got Arnold, I got Dorian, I got that stuff.
With that stuff, there's a whole bunch of other background that you can apply. You can like see like, oh, that makes sense in this line, that makes sense here.
With this half of it is metaphysical, where it's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Where they give you, I'm like, oh, come on.
Well, and then the other thing is you also have people's own psyche or interpretation of things in their own way sometimes.
No, but plus it's like,
what it can do is it can turn things into Frank, I don't care that anything we do be a science, but it can turn things so theoretical that's a tough thing to pin down.
No, on top of it, it turns into a religious conversation right away.
Yeah.
Because the second we started there, people say, that's Buddhism. I'm like, stop putting a fucking name on it.
Yeah.
That's not, we're talking about the human person expressing emotion. I don't care if it's Buddhism, Taoism, Christianism, whatever. That's not the point. Stop putting a label on it, because then you can discard it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Buddhism stuff.
Yeah.
Don't.
Well, because the only thing you guys are concerned about is finding out the way things are. It really is just the definition of truth.
Yes.
We're after the pursuit of just truth as it is. So stop fucking trying to call it this, call it that.
Because that's just the way of discarding it. Yeah, you're just putting a label so you can discard
throw it away.
Yeah, and so it was literally, it was 2 months in Australia where I was like every day putting myself through these cycles and training and finding different muscles.
And it fucks you up mentally, trust
me.
Because we missed a few, by the way. Like he didn't sleep for 3 days. No, did I bonk or did you? No, I didn't sleep.
You didn't sleep. I was up for, I don't tell my wife, but I was up for 4 or 5 days.
Because at some he was up for 5 days. Me, I did that I couldn't sleep for 2 days, but then I crashed myself, and for a week I was like fucking like I hate this.
Yeah, I mean,
like I did not like it for like a few days.
And
I did not like it.
And the hardest thing is that it's not just I'm gonna go find anger today, or I'm gonna go do this, or what does this muscle represent? Because you can't. Because as soon as you go to the gym, you start trying to analyze what you're doing with the muscle, and that doesn't
you get
do
in
shit.
your own way.
And there's no intensity.
And so you start going, and I would just go, and I would just
Feel.
go.
Yeah, feel.
And I would just be jumping from machine to machine, just going at it and spending hours and hours. And I was like, holy shit. I mean, I got to a point where I'm in this gym that your strongmen and powerlifters would be very happy with. There's literally a needle dispenser in the bathroom, so I could safely dispense needles.
There's
and
blood
there's
on the
these
balls.
dudes that are just jacked everywhere. And there's just fucking darkness in this whole place. And I have my headphones on. And I'm going, and at that time I was doing bench press, and then I was going into Dimmel deadlifts, and I was just going. And then eventually I went to sumo Dimmels, and I fucking got my hips, the outside hips, the glute meats to just fire. And I was like, no, you're firing, especially my left one, because that one turns off.
Oh, you forgot to mention.
Yeah. And then basically I fucking felt the whole muscle go like a massive spasm. I was like, ooh, what was that? And I was like, holy shit. And I started to like feel something, and I was like, no, you're not running away from it now. I went, started doing kettlebell swings in the oblique opener, back and forth. And dude, I did over 500 kettlebell swings in that session. And there was a point where I just like, the last set, I did not let go of the kettlebell. I was going, and I was fucking enraged. And then I went through and I stretched the glute med. I just felt and I'm just laying there, and I'm like, but loudly, like ugly girl, like
Wrong
Kim
setting for that.
Kardashian crying, bro. Like the
Stepsister ugly.
dude, like just fucking going. And I have my headphones on. I'm like laying there, and like I curl up in a ball, and I turn around, I look up, and there's like these massive, like 6 massive Aussie dudes like walking over. And I'm like, stop fucking crying. Don't be a little bitch. Just stop crying. Please just stop crying. Just stop the tears. No, they're not stopping. Fuck it. I don't know. I'm okay. Just go away. And just fucking cried. And I'm sitting, they had like a turf part outside, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, what just happened? And it was just a feeling. It was an emotion. I don't even know how to explain it.
They come up.
Yeah.
And I was like, what just
remember
happened?
stuff,
And I was like, I gotta know what this is. And literally like 30 minutes of me just sitting there like not knowing what happened. I'm like looking around, and the grass started getting greener, and the blue sky started like getting super
That's when he
neon.
sent me a text message. It
Oh,
was so
dude!
good.
I'm like, coach, you're my man, you're my boy. Like I'm always there. We ride till we die.
Julian's like, what is
Dude.
he smoking today?
No, because no. I was like, he found something. I want to know what. I was like, I want to know what that was.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm calling Dale. I was like,
I love you.
Again, X-rated messages of love making. And I'm like walking out, and there's like a dude, I remember clearly, this black dude that I think he had like an iPad mini in his arm that looked like an iPhone.
Yeah.
Like just massive dude. And I'm walking by, I was like, bro. And he's like going, he looks at me, he's like, I'm like, dude, I aspire to be as jacked as you one day, dude. Keep fucking going. He looks at me, he's like, oh, all right, kill it, bro. And I'm walking, I'm like,
You're like,
Dude.
this is like, he's like high-fiving people on the street.
I was
totally.
dude, like legit. That's no joke. I was like high-fiving. I was like not flirtatious, but just like, you look absolutely
Especially on
gorgeous.
camera.
Like your beard is fucking coming in. Like you right there. Woo. Get after those push-ups because it's doing the work. You know what I mean? Like, but to everybody, I became so like hyper social, and it was like,
Flow state.
you can ask Ben and Allie. They're in the mentoring program. Like, for the next 5 days, I was like, guys, what are we doing? Let's go do something. Let's go. We got karaoke. We got this. We got that. We need. And they're like, well, who is this person?
The thing is, people don't understand is how long this lasts. We're not talking about an hour. It's like you're either off or on for days at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Me, I was the stretching, and suddenly like a memory popped up when I was like, I don't know, 10, 11, when I got beat up. And suddenly I was like, is that what I couldn't deal with or whatever? And the stuff came up, and for like 2 days, I was like, fuck me.
Yeah.
It's days at a time. If you touch something, it's not 10 minutes.
It's so crazy.
It's
super
days.
cool.
It's
now-
days where you're like, and they're up or down, by the way, so don't fuck it
Yeah.
up. But yeah.
And that was really the start of it. And I was like, ooh, I got to try this with, kind of
People.
assessments and people. And so I started it. And, I've had people, and they're like, they open up to me about things that I'm like, I didn't know people had this rough of a childhood.
Yeah.
or this type of
That's when you
traumas
discover
or-
how much traumatic stuff people went through.
What I've found is really as you go further along, you realize that like everybody's fucked up.
Yeah.
And the fact that what you
No one's normal.
your perception of
normal,
what normal is
yeah.
insane.
And no one fits it. by
Like
the way.
growing up, I kind of figured that maybe like 20% of people were fucking broken weirdos. And now I realize that it is 100% of people.
Yeah, because you discover that people have suffered some mean shit.
Yeah.
Everybody has. Welcome to the world.
It's just existence, yeah.
No, because we see movies where we have that idea that what normal is a boring life where nothing happens. Everybody got beat up. Everybody has some dark corners. We all went
problem
through
is that
some
we all
tough
think-
shit.
But the problem is that we all think, and I mean, I use the extreme cases of bad childhoods, but we all think that something happened, and because it happened when you were in third grade, you should just disregard it.
Yeah.
And for me, like that's
Yeah,
the
you
biggest
deal
thing
with
is
it, yeah.
whatever it was. Like I had this is one of an embarrassing one. Awesome, but now I realize why I have to pee quietly, and it's really hard for me to go pee in public, which I know it's a whole lot of people. But for me, it was like I had this whole memory.
Not that many.
Not that many.
No,
Okay,
most
just
people are
me.
okay. Yeah.
I was
I'm
trying to
just
make a
telling you
norm
right
out
now.
of it. I guess I'm that
that's
weirdo.
you, yeah.
But I was
Welcome
like,
to the 20%.
Wait. He can't touch the door.
come
When he
on,
goes pee.
guys. Okay, we're gonna do a public poll.
Yeah.
Who grabs the handles when they leave a public bathroom? Fuck that.
No,
Not in airports.
the door.
But-
Anywhere.
The door.
People don't wash their hands and they fucking grab the doors everywhere. No, I can't. I'll go like this. I'm not.
Listen,
I'm not dealing with that.
I'm here
Anywho.
for a good time, not for a long time. Nobody lives forever.
Dude, small things like that get to me. I'll get to the bottom of it. But like the whole pee thing, it was preschool, and I was peeing in the bathroom, but you could hear it outside. And when I walked outside, there was the girls making fun of me and the kids bullying me kind of because I was peeing, and I beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And there was like a whole
There you
thing
go.
there. But I was
That
like,
stayed,
from
huh?
that moment,
That's the one that stayed.
everything changed. And you're like, you hear that, you're like, oh, come on, dude, it was fucking preschool. But at that moment,
Doesn't matter.
everything changed. So
For you, by the way, another person might not feel
Well,
anything about
and
it.
I think it's
but,
important
yeah.
with those things is like logic is the reason
Yes.
people assume that
Yeah.
you should be past
Right.
it now. It's like, well, you're an adult now. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
some kids are shit. It's like, but what happens is that does not change any mechanism that occurred at that moment then.
No, but logic
because
is,
you
by
didn't
the way,
have the logic.
Logic is a stupid. No, when it comes to human, let me tell you. Okay, let me explain to you what logic would make you do in a situation. Let's have a situation where you're with your 3-year-old daughter. A bear comes at you, right? So most likely you're both gonna die. A logic thing to do is to start running away, because then the 3-year-old doesn't run as fast as you, therefore has a good chance of getting killed by the bear first, and death by mauling should slow down the bear long enough for you to run away. You can make another one, right? If you fail, well, that's true. If
That
you,
was like-
and at
that was the elephants on
3-year-olds,
planet Earth.
you're like,
you haven't invested that
you're not
much
that
into it.
committed.
Yeah, I mean, it just started now.
You're
I mean,
not 15 years in. You didn't buy the
yeah,
car.
I mean, like you haven't invested that much
you
yet.
sure cry a lot, huh?
Yeah, anyway, like, yeah, they don't really interact that much, know what I mean? Like, so it's soft, the bear will like it, know what I mean? Chances are you're going to get away.
Yeah.
That's a logic argument, right?
Yeah.
If you face the bear, you'll die, and then the kid will die anyway.
And on both sides of those
Unless it's cheap and the
discussions,
bear could
on
take
the and on the non-logic side of both those discussions lies like the reason it is that way is because of there's personal connection, there's humanity.
It's
there's-
called being
there's
human.
All of that.
Yes,
stuff.
it's a human thing. So that logic thing, it's not logic. Logic works with math and stuff like that. But if you're going to talk logic, humans have their own behavior. You have to follow human behavior to understand logic. A logical, basically, situation like that is you fight the bear because that's what humans do. But so you know that logic thing, it's just another way for people to escape.
Yeah.
Basically, what humans do.
Yeah.
And that's to be integrated within anything that we do. So like the emotional mapping, like the amount of, not just work that we did, the amount of emotion we put into it. I think that's where what people should understand that is
Right.
what it costs to learn everything that we've learned. It's hours in the gym, but it's also so much emotion put into
It's
it.
a lot of hours just discovering yourself, which
Yeah.
a lot of people,
Which
a lot
is
of
not
people
always-
want to until
yeah.
the work is put in,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're like, oh, and I'm like,
Well,
you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's where for me it's like again things that I've stolen from Julian. Like so a lot of the stuff that I learned from him was the first one is when we were doing our first interview. He's like, I need to see the numbers. He's like, you're your own true judge, so you truly know if you want to go to the games and do this, or if there's something else. And that one was, I remember I was like, I do want to go to the games, But I wanted to go to the games to prove something to the people that I was trying to be competitive with, not for myself. I was like, yeah, that's true. So I was like, hey, I don't want to go to the games, really. I don't really like it, right? But that one is always like with my assessments, like, you're your true judge. Like, you don't need to prove anything to me. You know what anger looks like. So just because you're yelling and throwing the sled because you think that's you hiding what anger is, that's not a true expression of your anger. So you are your own true judge, and I'm just here to guide you to wherever that is that you want to go.
If you want to go there,
you will judge yourself.
If you want to go there.
The second one, I got off on that one. The second one was when we were doing all this stuff, and I was working with a client, and he's like, remember, it's from Freud, but he's like, never disregard that first thought. Always go with it. And I was like, fuck, that's genius. So that's where I started to realize, like, when I start working with people, I was like, if you have a trauma that you think is, even though it seems lesser because of what society would view it as a lesser trauma, go with that one first. And we'll start there.
Always the first one. By the way, that's the most important one.
Yeah, so it's those small things where I'm like, oh fuck, that's just genius.
But you discover that by going through it. That's what I would like for people to understand, is that the work we put in is not writing down a program, 80 versus 85%, all that stuff. Like that's memorization. It's not that. It's the amount of emotion that you put into a subject of yourself. But not yourself like, oh, I put 16 hours. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Did you put 16 hours of you crying in front of everybody in the gym because you push your emotions so far that you touch something and then you realize it's the glute? Did you do that? That's the courage that it takes to be good at something. Short of that, it's cowardice. Most people, when it comes to committing to something, are cowards. And I say that with all the love in my heart for everyone, but most of you out there are cowards when it comes to committing to something. You are not. You say you want it, but you're not doing it. Sorry.
Shots fired. Let's talk before we wrap up about a couple of the more places where people can see some of the more extreme examples of this mastery taken all the way to the end.
Yeah. So there was that Ramen Heads documentary that I talked about because...
Is that not on Netflix?
No, it's on iTunes.
But you can buy it.
I think it's I think it's on Ramen Heads in the States, just not out here.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but you can find it on iTunes.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. And it was fascinating to me because you can tell that's what the guy wants to do. But I love the fact that he doesn't teach anything to his apprentices. They have to steal the knowledge. But he has the restaurant for 10 years now. So it's 6 days a week, where he's at his station from 10 to 5 without ever leaving it, not even a bathroom breaks, for 10 years straight, 6 days a week, making about 200 plates a day of the same food. Yeah. And that doesn't count the 5 years of apprenticeship before that.
What's
I'm
interesting
doing the same stuff. That's all he eats, by the way.
Is when you describe that to me,
yeah.
That to me sounds literally like the opposite of mastery.
It would be almost like a
factory
worker.
job, right? That's what I think of. However, that guy, that's his shit.
Because every day he's doing a little bit better.
Yeah. Well,
and I think that
for him, it's like fucking Picasso painting.
Yes.
But there's a difference, though.
It's not. It's only because I don't understand the subtleties of it. Is the reason.
No,
it
but
seems
you
like
could be a factory
job.
worker and still be a master of that.
Totally.
There's a factory worker that's just doing whatever, and there's certain factory workers that love their shit and they try to perfect whatever it is that they do.
And
as well.
each car that they make, they'll make a that they'll we call it solding.
Sign their initials or brand their.
No, but even doing the stuff that no one else but them see.
Oh
They'll weld. They'll weld something,
Yeah.
and it'll be the best fucking weld job you've ever seen. But the thing is, something goes on top, so you'll never know. He knows you'll never know. He knows no one on earth will ever know because something will go on top. And yet, he did the best fucking welding job that he could, and he's mastering his craft. And after 10 years, that weld is a beautiful work of art that no one will ever see. So that is what it takes.
Yeah.
When no one is watching, when there is no confidence, there is nobody in the back, there's just you and the work that you do. And most of the stuff that I do, no one will ever see, because a lot of my work is kept in the padded room somewhere, right, in a drawer. And
there's just so much of it too. It's
you guys don't understand. And some of it, no one will ever see.
Yeah.
It's a private painting of mine somewhere, and it's okay. But this is where the hours go. And that's, so there was a guy that ramen noodles, and there's a guy named Jiro. He's a master sushi chef. He's 83 now, if he's still alive, I hope. And what I want people to do is I want to go see those two, Jiro and Ramen Heads, and I want you to look at the two documentaries, and at the end, and be truthful with yourself. Are you scared by what you saw? Are you inspired, or are you scared by what you think is a lonely life of doing just one thing? When you look at them, do you see crazy? Do you see inspiring? Do you see an artist? Probably you see an artist, but is that the life that you want? And if the answer is no, that means you haven't found your thing. Because anybody who found their thing will go, I understand. Because what you see won't scare you, on the contrary. You'll go like, fuck yeah. But you'll understand the level of what to most people is crazy that it takes to be good at something. And I mean good. I mean, and not even good compared to others. It's good compared to yourself. Like that welder. Like he wants to do a better job at welding, not compared to anybody else, just to him. Like, is he better yesterday? Is he better today than he was yesterday? That's the only thing that matters. Right? They have a name for that in Japanese. It's chokujin, which is a craftsman. A true craftsman is going to have one thing that is basically for the rest of his life that is committing himself to emotionally. Most people think it's work, like you just check the boxes. No, it's not that. Is how invested are you emotionally in what you do? I'm extremely invested. Mm-hmm. It's past invested. It becomes who I am. If you do it long enough, it becomes who you are. I am this, and that's what I do. And most of the work, no one will ever know about, because I do it for me first.
So you guys have homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we sign off, I have to speak with Richard a little bit. I have to tell a little story that he does not know I was going to tell today.
Okay.
Awesome.
We're actually going to speak directly to Richard's mother, who I know is going to watch this.
God.
Oh, good.
So Richard's mom, I met her for the first time here probably like 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And the first thing she said, she said, I think she might have even came up and like hit me on the shoulder.
Probably.
That sounds like her.
She's much smaller than me too, so I was like, the balls on this woman.
Yeah.
That is very true too.
Except I knew immediately, like, this is not a fight you picked.
Exactly.
And so the first thing she said, she like comes up and hits me. She says, "I am mad at you," and I'm like, "Oh shit." I'm coming through this laundry list of things that anyone
could have done.
Mad
Yeah,
at me
exactly.
for. I was like, "How far did you look?" You know.
Yeah.
And so she said. Richard was on your podcast last year. So when Richard was on the Mathäus podcast, I think it was when we were in St. Paul.
Yeah, in St. Paul.
Like a year and a half ago. And she said, after I heard it, I had to say, he used way too many F words on that show. And she's like, and so did you. And so she is under the impression, and I'm gonna jump on this grenade. I told Richard going into this conversation that it's okay, he can swear as much as he wants. Richard normally doesn't talk like this. He doesn't speak like this in public. This was just to fit in with me. That's all he did.
Every single podcast that I ever do, anything that I ever do, she's like, "You've cussed a lot." I was like,
"Is that all you heard?" Yeah.
No, well, I always say I'm over 18, because the thing was she used to curse a lot, and I'm not throwing her under the bus. But she used to curse, and then she was like, "When you're 18, you're allowed to curse."
That's what I told you. Yeah.
So I'm over 18. I think I'm allowed to curse.
Apparently, you're not.
Apparently, yeah. Well, I'm still a little boy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem.
You're still allowed.
You're still not 18. That's the problem. Yeah.
You're just. What was the? It's going to be one of those things like, listen, Richard, I'm not mad. I'm just really disappointed.
Yeah. Like,
that's my grandmother.
Yeah.
She never yelled. She just looked at me.
And you're like,
you know, like when you grab a fork, I still have to grab it by the end.
Yeah.
Because the hand is never close to the food. To this day, I grab it by the top end. I cannot eat with my hand close to the food because I know my grandmother, she died a month ago, so grandma, is over there looking at me with disappointed eyes. And I'm like, to this day, she never yelled. That was far worse. That was so much
I did pretty
worse.
good, though.
Yeah. I thought you did pretty good.
There you go. That's
I mean,
what matters.
There's
Everybody else heard actually what you said and not just the effort.
Yes.
Read for the message. Look for the message.
Exactly.
And
meaning.
And anyone who's doing our subtitles, just cut the F words out.
Yeah.
Just put F.
Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks a bunch, guys. Thanks for listening. Let's do the quick sign out thing though, so people know where they can find all of the things. Richard on Instagram is
Rare Barracuda.
Rare Barracuda on Instagram. Julian is
@ padded room 1.
Julian is.
I'm taking that Instagram.
Julian is at.
I'm going to change my name to that. Padded room 1. I like it.
I feel like that's going to be a little complicated for marketing seminars.
Yeah.
No, it's
come learn from the
understand.
padded room.
Exactly.
Julian is at StrongFit1. Also, strongfit.com is where you're going to find all of pretty much everything. Seminar dates,
Yeah.
the apparel, all the equipment pages linked through there in the
Yeah,
store.
everything's kind of linked out of
sandbags,
there,
everything.
so-
That's going to be your home base for everything.
Yeah.
We also have a really cool group on Facebook that we've been using quite a bit of now.
Yeah.
It's the just Strongline
StrongFit
online,
community.
StrongFit
StrongFit
online
community.
StrongFit community. That's
Yeah,
it. We
and
call it.
so that's anybody can join if you want to learn more. There's a lot of cool
You know.
discussion with people who've been in and around the world for a while. I'm Tyler. You can find me on Instagram at Tyler F. and Stone, and we'll see you next week.
That's swearing.
Later.
Bye.
Cool.
We still should do the radio voice intro sometime.
I told
Oh,
you
yeah.
should.
Hey,
Well, you can-
everybody!
You can add it. Yeah, but if
Next
he does
week.
it in front of me, I'm gonna have a very hard time staying
Yeah.
focused after that.
Hey, welcome to KTTV 5 Mornings with Tyler.
I don't know what they ever thought it was a good idea. Chris had a funny joke saying, if you steal a Tesla, is it called an Edison?
I like that one a lot.
That was funny. I was like, dude, that one is
Is that
good.
that one?
Yeah, Chris Redican, he put that one. I was like, okay, that's funny. That was funny.